And we're live. Hey, welcome back to the book club. And today we're talking about chapters 26, which has a lot going on for very few pages. Anybody want to sum up?
Well, we get to hear more about what happened with Deep Thought, what the ultimate answer is, and we get to see more about Zaphod and why he decided to do that thing with his brain, and that he wanted, how he decided to steal the heart of gold.
And yeah, his intentions behind all that.
And that's mostly it.
Mostly it.
I mean, there's a lot to go over in there.
But a lot to go over, but that's basically.
So our first chapter, like literally half a page long.
Yeah. This is more of like a jump to the next part, man.
I was kind of surprised on how quickly that chapter ended, because I literally read it and then it went to the next one. I was like, oh, that was short.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I always have mine set in original page view, so I have to scroll down the pages when I'm reading it. But when I'm looking at it while we're doing the book club, I have it set up in a zoomed out double page view, and I'm seeing how short this chapter is now that I didn't before.
This isn't even half a page.
Yeah.
In the physical copy I have.
But they did talk about artificial dinosaur skeletons, so
yeah.
That was pretty fun.
You
know. Which I don't know, because like the Earth was programmed for a 10 million year run. But how long ago were dinosaurs supposed to have been? Because like
they're trying to
implying
put fake ones because real ones would have been there, and they have to rebuild the Earth exactly the way it was before.
I think dinosaurs would have been around 50 million years ago. I guess it really depends based off the ages that he said were in the Earth.
No, dinosaurs. I mean, they're old, but they're not as old as people think they are.
Well, it depends on the period too.
Yeah.
But that Slarty Bartfast talks about, I can show you the rest of the story on the Sensa tape.
That was pretty funny.
What I find funniest about it is describe the system like it's an 8-track, but it works a lot like our modern
VR
virtual reality stuff, like the Oculus and everything.
But it looks like they just grab the tape and then you can see everything, which is neat.
Yeah. So yeah, even the earliest dinosaurs could have existed. Been artificial skeletons in there. Because you were undershooting with 65 million.
It was close.
Yeah, you were pretty close.
I knew it was around 50 million. Anything before that would have been.
Yeah, a lot of people jump over to like 300 million. It's like, no, because that doesn't make any sense. Even the earliest could have been like maybe 230 million.
He specifically mentioned the tertiary and quaternary periods of the Cenozoic era.
Yeah, but those exist because they put those down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that was
in a 10 million year problem.
65 million.
None of them could exist.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess
but basically, it was just giving him the options.
Yeah.
So, dinosaurs were planted in the Earth by alien forces.
Well, and then even the Earth was built by them too.
Yeah. So that's
because the original Earth was built by them.
I love that whole explanation of how our Earth even became.
It's like even the people on it are just a byproduct of needing to be on it for the system to work.
Yep.
Yeah, so that we're in chapter 27. There's really not much to talk about.
No, that's a short time.
26.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to talk about in 27 because
Mhm.
at this point is where he chose, okay, we're going to do the senso tape, and he hops into it, and we start actually seeing the events of what happened after the older Deep Thought story that we covered last time.
10 years later.
Just a pretty long time.
Yeah. And the descendants of...
Though, still almost no time in the universe.
Yeah. Still like to have designated descendants. They even had the descendants from the philosophers. And then the descendants from originally pan-dimensional beings are there.
Well, I like it because their names are pretty much just slight derivatives, just other ways of spelling Lunk, Will, and Fook.
Yeah. A really weird way to spell it, but hey. And then depending on like how long they live, that must have been something. Like just pass it down and then you have to figure out who's going to be there for the ultimate answer. 7.5 million
I believe they
years
said
away.
that they were trying to remember where it said that specifically.
75,000 generations ago. Is
Yeah,
that what you're looking for? 75,000 generations. That's a lot.
there's a lot. It's a really lot.
Yep.
Even how many generations that we get within 100 years, you get like anywhere between 2 to 4. If you're going by true generations, if you're going by just like next birthing cycle, then you can have up to like 10.
I thought typically a generation was like 40 years.
Typically, yeah, but we don't even call our generations that anymore.
Yeah.
Because now we just go by like every birthing cycle.
Yeah. Like just an era instead. Well, I don't know. I think it still goes by like 40 years. I don't know.
Well, and then again, it's weird to think about because our humans haven't even been around for 7.5 million years, right?
Yeah.
A few 100,000 years.
Well, in the form we are now, the earliest humans are probably like 1 million years old.
Yeah, in modernity, we're still
Yeah.
pretty young. Like
But
thousands.
Homo sapien would...
Million.
The modern man is only like 100,000 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe 200,000 on generous estimates.
No more than 1 million, I would say.
Well, then they even keep that throughout the generations of, oh, there's this big computer trying to process what the ultimate answer is.
It's just sitting there the whole time.
Yeah, it's just sitting there and crazy.
But there's one thing I forgot to bring up last time.
Which was?
But I just have to say, Andres.
Yes.
That's it.
Oh, I didn't
Mahogany.
hear it.
Mahogany.
Mahogany. Okay, I didn't hear it. It was just like you just said my name, and then there was just suspense, and I was like, and then you just went, "That's it," and I was like, "Oh God, this is just absolute silence." No, I thought the exact same thing about his
Ultra Mahogany death. I was thinking
Ultra Mahogany
of
Mahogany.
Mahogany.
I liked the explanation of the chair that he had to sit in whenever it's like he gestured Arthur toward a chair which looked as if it had been made out of the ribcage of a stegosaurus. It was made out of the ribcage of a stegosaurus. I was like, okay, that defeats the mystery of everything.
Yeah. Could have just said it from the beginning.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I actually laughed a little bit more in these few chapters because it was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some things were like redundant in an ultra ridiculous way. And that was great.
It's kind of happened a few times before, but yeah.
Like even the end of our section even the end of the section that we read made me laugh pretty heartily. I think I actually chuckled out loud. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's actually really funny."
Yeah, I've been laughing a lot.
And
So
what
we
I like is the
get-
conversation.
Huh?
Because every single time they
Oh.
ask Deep Thought something, Deep Thought responds with like the exact same thing they just asked in like a very rhetorical answer to a rhetorical question. And just and it's really hard because if you watch the movie, you get like this womanly voice for Deep Thought, but Deep Thought's supposed to have like this very like dictionary encyclopedia commanding man's voice, according to how the book describes it. So just imagining like, I think of a voice that could go with it. But like, let's say James Earl Jones, right? Imagining James Earl Jones responding to all of these questions. Like, there really is one? There really is one. Just every single time. That alone makes me laugh, knowing that there's just like this commanding computer voice just rhetorically answering every question.
And then they do that back and forth, and then Deep Thought's like, I don't think you're going to like it. Well, it doesn't matter. No, I really think you're not going to like it. And it's so drawn out, and then you get to
the answer.
The ultimate answer, 42.
And then suddenly...
It still made me laugh whenever it was just absolute silence and everybody was just looking at everything. The very first question is, we're going to get lynched, aren't we? I was like, well, okay. Yeah. I feel that's a very appropriate response.
Well, I even like how it's when he says 42, it said Deep Thought with infinite majesty and calm.
Which still makes me think of James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones should have been the voice of Deep Thought.
42.
42. Yeah, we're... it was a tough
How much do you think it would
assignment.
cost to get James Earl Jones to pay to just read this whole book aloud?
I don't know, but I would absolutely listen to that audiobook.
I did like Stephen Fry doing it.
Yeah.
Or at least just have...
But he's not James Earl Jones.
Or we could end up having Stephen Fry read the book and then James Earl Jones just do every voice for Deep Thought.
Well, yeah. The audiobook I listened to is Martin Freeman, who did the reading.
Huh.
Since he was Arthur in the new movie.
Yeah, well, the copy of the book that I have reviews with each of the cast members from the movie at the end of it. There's an interview with Freeman, Rockwell, Deschanel, Nye, and a self-interview with the screenwriter Carrie Kirkpatrick.
Interesting. I don't know. In the end, like after Deep Thought gives the answer, she goes into a very philosophical thing of like, I give you the answer, but I think the more important thing is you don't even know what the question is. And I was like, oh, let's just go. Let's put your name into actual practice there, Deep Thought.
Yeah.
It's like
it's like they think they know the question, but they don't even give a question. There's like the answer to the question of everything, but what is the question?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But it was the great question. But yeah, but what actually is
the question mark?
Yeah, because Deep Thought asks them what actually is it, and they're like, well, it's just everything. And yeah.
It's like they gave a description of a question without giving the actual question.
Yeah, they're like, we want a question that... We want the answer to a question that has something to do with life, the universe, and everything. And, of course, the great calculator goes, oh, After 7 million years, it's 42, and then everybody gets pissed off because they weren't even specific. I was like,
based on your description, I know enough to give you the answer, but coming up with the questions above my pay grade.
I mean, even with as dumb as our computers are compared to deep thought, if you do not do any, if you're just being absolutely vague to your computer, you're not going to get the answer that you're wanting.
Yeah, but you'll get something. I mean, you can go to Google and put like the letter A in, and they'll start giving you results.
Yeah, but if you're looking for an entire sentence that begins with the letter A, you're going to be searching for quite a while because you weren't specific.
You get every single sentence that starts with A.
Yeah.
And then we find out deep thought can't calculate the ultimate question, but he'll design the computer that does.
Yeah. I like the they foreshadowed this earlier, but Douglas did it in the funniest way too, because it's like deep thought was almost trying to tell them that there's a better computer that's going to come afterwards. Yeah. And they just kept like prideful and then ultimately just ignore the fact when if they had focused on that from the beginning, they probably could have saved a lot of time.
Yeah.
I think the liberation is kind of part of the novel, though.
Yeah.
But because then we find out the Earth is
the second computer. Earth is the greatest computer.
The second computer. And Deep Thought's going to help design it, but then it's going to take 10 million years to figure out what the ultimate question is.
It has a pretty dull name.
Yeah. So that must have been really difficult because not only did you have to wait 7.5 million years, but now you have to pay for and make another one and then let that run for another 10 million years. And oh my God.
Yeah, so we've spent no less than 17 million years at this point.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But I mean, I don't know. It's one of those questions. Well, one of the things I was kind of thinking is like, would the computer actually be smarter than Deep Thought if Deep Thought itself has actually created it? It's one of those things of, can the creation actually be smarter than the creator?
Oh yeah, totally.
Probably.
Totally.
Totally.
Yeah, totally. I mean, especially if it's a system that's built to grow on its own. If you take like the collective resources that are in a garden itself and the amount of energy and that it will do for itself, a garden is collectively more intelligent than the gardener who planned it out.
Well, then I guess I'll ask this question. Thought experiment, if you will. If you ended up knowing out all the processes that it would be in the system that you are trying to create, and you were able to actually implement them upon yourself, would you actually be smarter than the creation that you've created, even though you itself have implemented it to yourself? Like,
well, it depends.
Like, Deep Thought is saying that
is it feasible to be able to do it on yourself.
Okay, let's say this. Deep Thought is saying that the smartest computer has an ecosystem pretty much as its operational matrix, and they have the plans for this. Would it be feasible for Deep Thought itself to actually implement this upon itself, then becoming the greatest computer?
I mean, maybe. Deep Thought would have to make an ecosystem and then become part of it. But then you'd have to separate, well, what part is still Deep Thought and what part is the new computer? At that point, it's like a Theseus ship.
Okay, because, there would not be... Well, that's kind of one way of looking at it, I would think.
Yeah, because it's like, well, because Deep Thought would have to integrate into the new computer because Deep Thought is too small, the complexity of a planet.
Okay, I see. So it's just the absolute scale, that the fact that the computer is the planet
and the system grows on its own, but it needs the scale to be able to grow on its own. It's like you could think that the universe itself is a massive computer.
Mm-hmm.
that started less complex and got more complex over time due to the forces of entropy.
Kind of see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it did say that it did say that deep thought was about the size of a city comparatively to a whole planet with organic life as its matrix. And
if we even go off of the scale of how our own computers work, the bigger a computer is, the better it can possibly be because of the more resources you can put into it. Now our computers have been getting smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So we have smaller computers that are better than our older big computers. But even now, a bigger machine like a server load can still run better comparatively if it's from the same time period.
Well, then let's abstract it a little bit
because it can have
more.
more resources put into it.
You have like Luke and Fook and all their entire civilization, everything. They were able to create a computer that was in itself able to create the greatest computer to ever exist. Would that make them probably one of the greater? Well, they're not technically a computer, but the computing power that apparently had, or creating power that they had, would probably make them better than the other things.
Not necessarily. I mean, we even think that this could happen to us with our exploration of AI. We think one day that if we could make something that is as complex as the human brain, that it would probably make something even more complex of the human brain.
But the fact that we would have been created in the first place,
more complex than things that we came from. And you just have to look at it as a natural evolution, just through synthetic instead of organic ways. Things just get more complex over time.
They do.
And deep thought has the problem of being older than this new computer.
By a good 7 million years. 7.5 million years at least. So pretty much they're just outdated. I guess that's not necessarily a thing of like, is one greater than the other? Is one more outdated than the other? But the fact that even Deep Thought was able to actually create a secondary computer that was the greatest. Oh my God,
why is everybody trying to call me at the same time? Okay, you can continue.
But yeah, I was just saying, I was like, just the whole thought that Deep Thought could actually create the greatest computer and have all the. So they were pretty much just like outdating themselves, almost to speak. Because even if Deep Thought didn't do that, then they would basically be the greatest computer. I don't know. It's like there's a weird self-fulfilling prophecy at some point. It was like, I'm not the greatest computer, and then like that's absolutely insane.
The fact that humans are smart enough to judge patterns, right? And even some humans are pretty good at the predictive nature of what could possibly come. Then a computer, and we've even seen this already, where there's some pretty good algorithms that can help predict certain events that will happen. A computer that can register all the patterns could predict a higher complexity in the future than. And then we also know that a mass number of organisms can be counted as a computing machine, because just look at how good 4chan is at solving problems.
Okay, I think I kind of see it. At that point, humans would end up being just the mass computation computing force itself.
Yeah. In fact, the evolution of humans into our more complex society would be the computing force.
Okay, so now I'm kind of knowing. Now I'm kind of getting even more of a grasp on this, because that could have been Deep Thought's thought the entire time, where over time the complexity of humans would have gotten to the point where a mass force of complex humans would end up being an entire processing force that would be able to calculate what the ultimate question is, and then they're going to find out that the answer.
But it has to be unintentional.
Yeah,
because societies become, or no societies become there as a precedent came from a complex society.
Repeat that, because it kind of just broke out on me.
Your stream just broke in and out. Oh no.
I think he actually just broke.
I think he did. I think we're carrying
We're talking too much about computers. They become self-aware.
Yeah. I definitely think you could. Oh, did you?
Oh no, I've been having horrible. Yep, I'm actually out of RAM. Awesome. I'm still going, but my PC's been having.
I think we're still live. So.
They decided to take out our leader.
And so before he comes back, was there anything more you were thinking about with that? I can just picture, like, even just with humans in general, you have parents, and then the students can become better than the teachers.
I mean, putting it
So
in
in
the
terms
whole
of like a computer, but
putting it in the whole perspective that humans themselves could be the computing force, it was like, oh, that actually makes a little bit more sense. And it's like, I literally just had the thought in my brain. I can't remember what it was. It was that just the fact that a computer was able to create its own calculating force, like the cable, like the Earth was able to calculate an algorithm that would be capable of creating another algorithm that would then be able to process much greater than the algorithm that even created, and then the two could actually work together. So you have nature, which has the whole algorithm, which would end up creating humankind, and then you would end up having humankind growing and becoming even more of a deeper, more complex algorithm, and then the nature and Earth would end up working together, and then you'd have like a many-fold or a manifold amount of computing power.
Yeah, and we even evolve over time, so that would incorporate into the Matrix too.
Yeah, and then it just cycles around over and over.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just re-looking through everything like that, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Instead of just going at a glance and going, oh yeah, he could have, like, is Deep Thought actually the more brilliant one? And I was like, I mean, looking at this, Deep Thought is absolutely brilliant. Oh, hey, he's back. He popped up, so we'll see if he actually stays back. Hello.
Are you guys still there?
Yes, we are.
We're still here.
You kind of
just cut out for no reason.
Yeah. We carried it on for a bit more.
I don't even remember where I was in the middle of the sentence because I was trying to fix the problem. So where are we at now?
I think we basically wrapped it up.
Yeah.
Like the organicness of.
Oh yeah.
I was just telling Chris how just the brilliance it is that Deep Thought could create a computer that through nature and the matrix and just the entire calculating algorithm that would end up creating another force that would be humans that can end up becoming a complex calculating algorithm, and then nature would end up working together. So you have a
No, I remember what I was going to say too. Was that since this happened multiple times, they had to nudge humans into the right direction, and that's why the mice were there with the whole experiments and everything.
So yeah, you just had to have. So as brilliant as the computer would be, you ended up having the mice out constantly like steering the processing in the correct direction. Otherwise, you would end up having a rogue program.
Yeah, which like every other planet that had existed before Earth.
All right then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that conversation.
And there's still no doubt that Deep Thought is still like insanely smart anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's the second smartest computer.
But it is really cool that it can make a computer smarter than it.
Technically, that's still the first because the Earth has to be remade. It was the smartest computer.
Yeah. Well, even at the time, it was still the smartest until it ended up creating the other one. Like the fact that it called itself the second greatest was just, as I said earlier,
the fact that the fourth dimension was not as much of a limit on it. You know?
Yeah.
It was so smart it could figure that out.
Well, yeah, because it probably already actually calculated the
probability of things.
Not only the probability, but just the fact that it would probably end up creating the second, the greatest one. So yeah, in the 30 seconds that it took to turn everything on, he had probably already formed the plans for the greatest computer.
Yeah.
So after all that, and they name the Earth, everything just fizzles away.
The real question is, though, on the extrapolation, Deep Thought couldn't even call itself the second smartest. Because if a computer could be made better, then why couldn't one eventually be made better than Earth, right?
Because then it just ends up getting blown up before it could actually create anything.
Depends.
It's 5 minutes before it even figured out its main programming.
Let's face it, if Deep Thought ended up exploding right as it powered on, then we wouldn't really even have the second smartest at that point.
Well, we wouldn't even have Earth.
Yeah.
If we're done with, are we done with that topic?
Yeah, we're on 29.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I had a thought that I hadn't thought of before, but I mean, I know that Magrathea and stuff was kind of like a myth, but it's still interesting that, like, I just thought of this, that the only words in the Hitchhiker's Guide for Earth are harmless.
Or mostly harmless.
This whole,
Well, now
yeah,
it's
mostly harmless. But like even the mice knew, because the mice have been here, but still no one knew enough about Earth, even though it was designed by Deep Thought. Like that it didn't even make it into the guide.
That Earth only has those words. If you think it's harmless or mostly harmless, you won't interfere with the program. Plan. I mean, it's so ingenious and subtle.
I didn't think of that. Yeah.
But then, in the end, bureaucracy. So.
Vogons.
Oh, literally 5 minutes before.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
So. All right. Waking up Zaphod and the fact that he took.
Yeah, we're back to our other part of the cast.
Yep.
The B party, as we shall call them. Or I'll call them. You can call them whatever you want.
Or the Z party.
Party Z.
I mean, they could still be the B party because Zaphod's last name.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Anyway.
Yeah.
I love this catalog that they're stuck in.
Like the first planet that you see.
All the gold.
That would be awful. Just all gold.
All gold. Ugh. No.
So garish.
The whole idea to use that, like even if we used VR here, of like imagine buying a house through that way. Like you didn't even have to leave your home if you had a VR system. You could look through the house.
I mean, we technically already have that.
Yeah.
You can go on your computer and look at pictures, so it's just steps and steps away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. You can do Minecraft in VR, so I guess we're getting closer.
So we'll just build an exact copy of the house in Minecraft for you to look at.
There we go. Texture packs and everything. It doesn't exactly look like this. It's far less blocky.
It's like, well, I don't want it then.
The zombies don't really come out at night.
What do I want? Some Dr. Seuss house with curves everywhere?
I wanted triangles.
And then just even there's so many ridiculous things, planets in their catalog. Like, who's even buying these crappy planets?
I do like how their slogan is, whatever your tastes, Magrathea can cater for you. We're not proud. After that, it's 500 entirely naked women dropped out of the sky on parachutes. So I was like, perfect. Perfectly timed. I love it.
We're not proud.
We are not proud.
So the question is, are they not at their humble that they can do this, or they're not proud because they have to do some things they don't want to do?
I think it's the latter.
Or is it a combination of both?
I think it's the latter.
with the women coming out?
With the context, it has to be the latter. I mean,
well,
I don't know. Yeah, no, it's like, I don't know. With the context, they're probably very like they're just, it's like a false humility of like, oh yeah, we can also do a planet with just naked women.
falling from the sky.
We're totally not proud.
Of course, then that's interesting too, because, and I don't know if because if they built the Earth and if they built these other places, I guess they built organic life too.
Yeah, we'd have to.
Pretty intricate, but cool.
Like, be able to put the Earth back in the exact shape that it was, and to build the Earth 10 million years ago, there would have been life all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of that came from the calculations that Deep Thought had provided. Yeah. I don't know if they ended up creating planets that had life in them beforehand.
Well, and then one of them had one of the ones in the catalogs had cows and stuff, so it's like I don't know.
Well, it's like for the time that Magrathea has existed. I'm saying on a timeline thing, could it be possible that Deep Thought provided them the calculations to actually create life, and then they would be able to create it from those calculations, or was it a thing of they just created planets before inhabited, and then Deep Thought provided the stuff, and now they're like, oh, we can actually put life onto your stuff now that we actually have the calculations on how to create that.
I mean, or they could have already had the basic calculations, and Deep Thought just told them how to make more complex versions.
Maybe.
It could really go any way in this case. More to think, though, that most of their creatures in their catalogs were probably harvested from other worlds to start.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Because who's to say by sheer coincidence, if there's a place that is called France that is not France, planet that has cows on it.
Yep.
And so
we get to the point where Zaphod is revealing what he thinks happened to him.
The plot thickens.
In only the way Adams can do it. Like pudding.
Totally know what that means.
Well, you thicken like pudding. You ever whip pudding?
I have not whipped pudding.
You ever whip pudding?
I've thickened sauces, but not pudding.
Well, I mean, when you first mix pudding together, you have to whip a lot for it to thicken.
Oh, like Jello pudding?
With a whisk.
Okay. I have done that. Okay, never mind. Ignore the fact that I just lied to you guys. So anyway, we learn about the former president of the galaxy.
Juden Franks.
Ranks.
Franks. And he's the one. Him. Yeah. And he's the one that told Zaphod about the Heart of Gold.
And came up with this entire plan
to steal it.
And so that's why Zaphod even decided to become president, because that's the only way that he could steal the Heart of Gold.
To get close enough to it.
Which, in the United States, that would be so interesting. If, I'm going to run for president because I want to steal this, and the only way it can be there is if I'm president.
Yeah. Reason. I mean, that actually might have been Trump's plan the whole time. We haven't seen it happen yet because it's later in his term.
It's like Nick Cage kind of levels of conspiracy and planning. The only way to
steal the Declaration of Independence is the only way to do it is become the president.
National Treasure 3.
Oh no!
It's the best plan. Technically, he is still the president of the galaxy, though, because he kidnapped himself.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
So to kidnap himself, that means he kidnapped the president. So the president's with him. To be the kidnapper.
Oh.
It's an ingenious plan. No wonder he had to, fry his brain.
I'm trying to...
So I like how they even met him. It's mostly just because Zaphod wanted conkers.
Yeah.
Because that's the type of kid he was. And so he breaks onto this ship with nothing but like a hover type thing. Gets in there, and then afterwards, Yuden Vranks is so impressed that he gives them a lot of stuff before teleporting them into the Beetlejuice State Prison. He was a cool guy. I don't know if I would call somebody who teleported me into a prison cool.
I don't know. He kind of like played it off.
Apparently he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that, he threw them, he teleported them into prison. But, I mean, if you're impressed with someone, you're like, that's the fact that made him kind of like president of the galaxy, that he was like, oh yeah, I have enough justice. And then afterwards we get Zaphod. So, I mean, as we've seen in our
sense of humor.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. But so we get to this point where Ford come back to see Zaphod.
Before Yuden died, he came to see him. And he had the idea to steal the Heart of Gold.
We have the whole heist plot.
So it's like a Mission Impossible.
But we still don't understand why he did it, so...
Oh, no. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
So how can we?
Frying his brain.
He did from his brain, yeah.
In the scans.
I mean, having information in this far into the book would just be way too easy.
Even though we're getting really close to the end.
Yeah.
But, we know everything we need to know by the end. Just not everything we want to know. That comes later.
In more books.
Which is the encouragement from right now, people that end up watching this at any point in time. Don't stop reading. Even if we don't end up covering it.
Don't stop.
Keep the practice up. It's good.
Reading. No shame.
No shame at all. Can't have any in your life.
Nope.
Oh, that's bad news.
Especially when you hang out with me.
I've accepted this fact many, many years ago.
It's inevitable. Just like Zaphod stealing the Heart of Gold.
I just like how this chapter ends where a Magatherian man comes in and says, the mice will see you now.
Yeah.
Because only Arthur knows about the mice, and I don't think any of the other people know about the mice yet. So they must be really weirded out, like, what, the mice will come see us?
Well, considering how it's Trillian, Zaphod, and Ford, they're probably used to this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody should be
well,
weird,
they could be, but they...
Trillian, because she grew up
on
Earth.
Yeah.
But like the rest of them, it's like, okay, what's so special about a mice, or what's not special about mice?
Yeah.
And it technically could be the ones that she had on the ship because they disappeared.
Who knows?
I think it exactly was the ones that were on the ship.
I think it was, but that, I mean, it'll be later, but pretty sure that's who it is.
I mean, yeah.
Especially if I remember from the movie, it was the same ones.
Yeah.
I mean, for the fact that like Ford and Trillian and Zaphod ended up having gone through weirder circumstances. I mean, for God's sakes, Trillian has been with Zaphod for God knows how long.
Well, yeah.
So she's probably already used to this stuff, but it's like Arthur who needs the exposition of the fact that they're not the Magrathians. What are they? Did we ever get an actual name of the civilization?
I think the guy that he was talking to was a Magrathian. Slarty? Yeah. I think Slarty actually is a Magrathian.
I think he's a Magrathian.
I was talking about the mice. They're not Magrathians.
Oh, the mice? No, they're the pan-dimensional beings.
I think it just says they're pan-dimensional beings and doesn't...
They don't say exactly where they are from any other dimension or multiple layers of.
But yeah, it's like Arthur is the one who needs the exposition that pan-dimensional beings are mice.
Yeah. Well, he also needs the explanation because he's the self-insert for the writer, so...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Writer needs to know. I mean, if he doesn't know where we're going, who does?
No.
That wasn't a rhetorical question.
I wasn't even paying attention. I'm sorry.
I thought it was a rhetorical question.
No, it was not rhetorical at all.
Oh, can you please repeat the question?
I said if the
I
writer
thought it
doesn't
was-
know where we're going, who does?
Oh, that's true.
I don't know. That does seem like a very rhetorical question. I don't know if I could answer that one.
It still does sound rhetorical, yes.
Oh, I was looking for an answer. Oh.
Well, you're not getting one at this point.
If the writer didn't know, I don't think we'd have anything to read.
Yeah, I know. But maybe it's one of those stories that kind of like wrote itself, and the writer just found out by the time he got to the end.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
That circumstance a lot of times.
Especially
And then
if
you
you
ask yourself, where do ideas actually come from? The world may never know.
Follow Jung, they come from the collective unconscious. And they just exist.
Yes, but like, what is that exactly?
Exactly. Now you're asking the real questions.
Thought. Because we have an actual question here. Maybe Deep Thought can come up with the answer. Be as specific as possible. So, we're back to with Slarty.
Poor Slarty,
Arthur,
who has been restarting Earth. I don't know. I like his whole like explanation of just how it got destroyed. It was like, and the Vogons came and destroyed it 5 minutes before the program was completed. Added Arthur, not unbitterly. Yes, said the old man, pausing to gaze hopelessly around the room. 10 million years of planning and work gone just like that. 10 million years, Earthman. Can you conceive that kind of time span? A galactic civilization could grow from a single worm 5 times over in that time. Gone, he paused. Well, that's bureaucracy for you.
Yeah. I hate bureaucracy.
I was like, on Earth, I figured that everything was sinister. No, that's just something that everybody in the universe has.
Yeah. I think I'm just looking for the part.
I think I have it sectioned off if it's what I'm thinking you're thinking it is.
I'm thinking it is.
I like the part where he explains about when Arthur just asked that. And then Slarty talks about, well, everyone has that sense of paranoia.
Part I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's the part I was kind of just reading. He was like, no, that just is something that everybody else has.
And then he talks about how you deal with it and stuff, but
because Arthur was like,
the thing I was looking for was when he was talking about the fjords and how he really likes fjords, but it's not equatorial. It's like, who cares if it's not equatorial?
Because they gave him Africa assignments at Norway.
But fjords.
I just like that, like, Arthur's starting to go, well, if everyone in the universe has that sense of paranoia, then that must mean something is out in the universe. And that's when Slarty talks about, well, who cares? But I like his advice, though, because I think I needed it, too. But I always think that the chances of finding out what really is going on are so absurdly remote that the only thing to do is to hang the sense of it and just keep yourself occupied. Look at me, I designed coastlines, and I got a word for Norway.
Yeah, I like how just frivolously he throws his award to the side. It doesn't even matter. Norway's not around anymore. Yeah. I don't even get to redesign it.
And the only reason why I got the reward is because fjords were fashionable for a fleeting moment.
Yeah. Which actually shouldn't have any meaning to them because it's an Earth architecture, like, historical cultural practice.
I mean, technically it's a Magrathean if we want to really be honest, but
right, you could say that, but they built everything before the Baroque culture even managed to build itself.
Exactly. This replacement art they've building, they've given me Africa to do, and of course I'm doing it with fjords again because I happen to like them, and I'm old-fashioned enough to think that they give a lovely Baroque feel to a continent. They tell me it's not equatorial enough. Doesn't matter. Science has achieved some wonderful things, of course, but I'd rather be happy than right any day.
And are you?
No, that's where it all falls down, of course.
Yeah. Most people have that exact same idea. I actually like being wrong, believe it or not. Because most of the time when I'm right, it means bad things.
Yeah. You have to like reassure everybody else of like, no. Please tell me. Please make me wrong because, oh dear God, if I am right, we're screwed.
Yeah, no, that's why I have to argue so hard too. It's like, please, I can't let you just come up with an easy way out, because if you don't argue hard, you can't actually prove what I'm saying is wrong, and I don't want to be right. We're all doomed.
I don't know what Slarty says reminded me of a quote, and I can't remember what it is.
Bum bum.
I think it's from, is it Camus?
Yeah, Camus.
But I think it's that, but I don't remember. I think I have it written down. I don't know where it is. So we could continue.
There's a lot of quotes by Camus.
I
most
don't
quoted
even
thing
remember.
Is The Stranger, but
And I don't even remember what it was exactly, but it was basically about keeping yourself busy. That is what helps you.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it is.
I could.
Well, you know, idle hands stir trouble.
I don't know. Anyway.
I did find another one of Albert Camus saying, "Should I kill myself? Should I kill myself or have a cup of coffee?"
That's a pretty good thought, but you know, I have to go with the professional diarists. If you kill yourself, how can you eat food and play video games?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of what Camus is pretty much about is against suicide. I mean, the one quote that I found was the literal meaning of life is whatever you're doing that prevents you from killing yourself. I'm not sure if
That's the one. Thank you, Reese. That's the one I was thinking of. Sweet. Oh yeah, here the literal meaning of life is whatever you're doing to prevent you from killing yourself. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Keeping yourself busy enough that you don't want to kill yourself.
Which there was actually a recent video that I watched that talked about amor fati, which was a Nietzschean idea, which was the whole thing that if you ended up being trapped where you had to relive your past experiences, like a Groundhog Day kind of, where you had to pretty much relive the same thing over and over again, like you'd probably more likely look for a thing that would constantly get you through it instead of having to just feel so subjugated to living the exact same day. I think I probably butchered that entire thing, though.
Yeah, well, you would look for the solution to the problem so you wouldn't have to relive the day. Reliving the day is a death in itself.
Which is cool with the whole Groundhog Day, because he was able to do different things and not have to do the same things over again.
The original script was that even you wouldn't see it, but it would have actually happened for like thousands of years.
I think it did imply that.
What he was going to do. They took all actual implications out by the end. But there's been interviews about it, and they wanted to like even hard state that like knew and it would happen for 1,000 years. But then if somebody else knew, it would make the even harder to write.
Okay, I think I found the actual thing of it. Like the whole amor fati thing is just more of a thing of like, if you were subjected to an infinity of just living the exact same day over and over again, that would be your fate. And then instead of just sitting there miserable of, oh dear God, like what am I going to do because I'm just living the exact same day over and over again, I tend to be doing the exact same thing. You could just go, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to actually enjoy the fact that I'm here and might as well go through it. And I don't know. I think that kind of ties into the whole keep your hands busy thing.
Yeah. Well, if you really think about it, if you had to live the same day over and over, then you could literally just do whatever you want, because at the end of the day, you'd be back to a reset.
Yeah.
That's true, but there would be a point where you're kind of just tired of doing a different thing every day, or just doing the same thing every day.
That depends how good your memory is. After a while, you might forgot some of the things that you already did.
Yeah, and then you forget it, and then you end up doing it again. And I mean, it's only finite. The amount of experience that you can have.
Well, is it finite when you're in an infinite experience?
Yeah. We pretty much just said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I think almost word for word, just the phrasing was a little swapped around. That was cool. I enjoyed that. Oh.
Anyway, I think that is good advice, though. Find something you love to do. Because I definitely know I need that. As we've mentioned before, I'm a lot like Marvin, manically depressed robot.
I mean, you can even go back to the whole phrasing. Yeah. I mean, you can even go back to the whole phrasing of find a thing that you enjoy doing, and you'll never work a day in your life. As terrible as that is for, like, financially for most people.
Yeah.
It's like, if you actually enjoy doing it, you're not going to really be all too bothered of whether or not you don't have money. It's like, you actually enjoy doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the problem with absurdism, though, which is what Camus' like pen and paper was. It has a lot of the same downfalls that nihilism has at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people ended up progressing into Jungian psychology, because it's not that Jung disagreed with him. It's just there were some finer points of like, well, yes, but you have to do something or so in a way that doesn't necessarily bring upon your own death.
I feel that more people actually followed after postmodernism, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, sure, I mean, what if killing people is what keeps you from killing yourself or dying? That might make you happy. Well, sure, but after a while, other people are going to want to kill you, and it's going to get a lot harder and harder the more and more people want to kill you. So there's like that whole, there's a finite possibility of smart choices.
I mean, and then it goes into like the whole Dexter complex, or like the murdering for justice's sake, where it's like, if you're gonna, like, if you are in that whole thing of like, you would end up killing somebody because that's to you the only thing that would give you life, like, would it actually be just to start killing people who need the justice reaped against them? Like the whole Dexter kind of thought process behind that, like, oh, he kills them because these are people who are actually like scum to society.
Yeah, in the Death Note kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking Death Note too.
Justice.
But the problem is, and this is why you need philosophy, did still evolve. Anything that is mimic or part of society evolved, just like anything that was genetic beforehand. I'm trying to wrap my words perfectly around this. Justice is a construct of society. It does not exist before it. Justice evolved alongside society. So, in fact, it's hard to define exactly what justice is. Standards and norms of the current society. And that changes and evolves over time.
Yeah, it's like as much as there are different cultures and everything that have different laws and different ways to define justice, I mean, pretty generally, it's like, unless someone has committed a crime, you do not kill them. Like, a lot of it is keeping people alive. And it's like...
Well, that's true in modern cultures.
In modern cultures. I mean, even in, like, ancient cultures, like, you wouldn't stone someone unless...
Well, there are some ancient cultures where there was nothing against killing people.
If like, just flat out, just like, okay, I'm just gonna walk out the door and murder someone. Like, most of the time,
it was more of a you didn't do it out of self-benefit of, you wouldn't kill somebody if they could their existence could still serve you. There are cultures that were like that.
Well, even then,
so as long as you had a service, as long as you could trade with people, as long as you could keep other people happy, you could be prevented from people wanting to kill you. That's a very like Sumerian way of looking at it.
Well, even then, if you did end up killing them,
against killing people.
Well, even then, it was kind of like still ingrained in them that if you did kill them, because even if they did serve something for you, it would be an unjust killing. So it may not have been.
I mean, the codes and standards from societies have changed. There have been exceptions to the general rule.
Yeah, well, it's like just for as long as humans have existed, it was kind of like a general thing of, after people probably stopped being cannibals to each other, I was like, you know what, maybe we should actually like not kill each other because we are pretty vital to our civilization, which I'm pretty sure that there are human ancestors that have actually eaten each other because,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the eating part probably stopped mostly out of the fact that the detecting of the pattern that diseases followed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, even with
But
that,
early
it's like
humans were very selfish.
Repeat
Same in
that?
chimps, right?
Oh.
And in chimps, the reason you help other people is because it's benefit of you, and it's the same reason why we don't kill, because you could get killed in return. The tyrant chimp can be on top for a while, but eventually a couple smaller chimps will gang up on him. But there have been structural societies where if somebody was like a peasant or something and you weren't, you were of like a nobler city, as long as that peasant could serve his purpose, you would not kill them. Slavery ends up happening. That's why people end up being pushed into military positions, because they could serve a purpose. But it wouldn't be unjust to just kill a peasant who wasn't serving a purpose in those societies.
Well, yeah, because at that point they're not even seen as human; they're just seen as
Yeah.
tools. What I'm saying, like,
so it's the humanization of people unjust.
Yeah, it's the whole process. It's the whole thought process that, like, universally, there's this whole idea that you do not kill. At least for people, it's like you do not kill another human. However, if you dehumanize a person, they're no longer a person, and they're no longer human. You can actually kill them, and it would be still considered just. Like if a noble killed another noble, it would be considered unjust because to them they were human. Another peasant wouldn't necessarily kill another peasant unless they had a noble mindset.
But there are certain exceptions to it too, because
I know, just generally,
recent societies have had like strict, maybe proletariat bourgeois separations, but some of the older ones had like, man, so you could never kill somebody higher than you. Just. In fact, there were people in some societies that were killed even in self-defense after killing somebody, because old societies were very
archaic.
It took a long time for some of these abstract ideas to really develop fully.
Yeah. Oh, that was an interesting rabbit hole. I can't even remember what we were talking about beforehand.
We were pretty much at the end of where we were anyway.
Yeah.
I guess we could close this out. Any last, anything?
The second thing that made me laugh was just Slarty saying, "Come, you are to meet the mice. Your arrival on this planet has caused considerable excitement. It has already been hailed, so I gather, as the third most improbable event in the history of the universe." What were the first two? Oh, probably just some coincidences. I think I burst out because it's just how stupid that was.
Not untrue.
I know it's smart, but it was just like, oh yeah, they're just coincidences. Like, oh my god, it's so smart that it's stupid to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really stupid, but in a slightly witty way.
Yeah, that's why I loved it. Yeah. It was I appreciated the wit and the intelligence behind it. It just made me think of how stupid it was. Because like this entire time, you're like, there really is like no such thing as coincidence. Like throughout the book, you just use the thing like there really is no such thing as coincidences, or because it's like no coincidence that the Earth was like created to be a computer or created the way that it was, and it was no coincidence that like it ended up getting destroyed. But no, the two most improbable were all coincidences. Like, of course they were. Of course they were.
Well, the first one was probably the universe coming into existence.
Huh.
Which was probably just a coincidence. Yeah. like how it closes out. Because we realize that Arthur has not changed at all, so he still has the mud on his clothes from that Thursday morning.
Yeah, from lying in front of the bulldozers.
And he seems to be having tremendous difficulty with his lifestyle. And it's like, well, I mean, what is your lifestyle? You really don't have control over anything at this point.
Yeah, he's just kind of along for the ride. I just like that we were able to extract all that out. Like, this last whole section was just from 2 pages. Chapter 30 is only 2 pages long. So, there's a lot of meat in these few pages.
We ended up going on like a weird rabbit hole about...
A lot of the time didn't have anything to do with any of it.
Yeah, it was just thought experiments, and we were like, you know what, let's just kind of go on full philosophy for just a small moment. See where this takes us. So.
And we're so close to the end now.
So close.
So close. So, being said, I think, because we only need about 45 minutes, and I think we've made up of cutting out earlier. Hopefully, it fixes itself on YouTube. If not, I will just have to go into the Creator Studio and clip these 2 things together. But anybody watching later, we're finishing up last 5 chapters. Is it only 35?
I believe so.
There's only 35.
I can check. Yes, yeah. 35.
Last 5 chapters.
Yep.
Read along, and in the comments, tell us how bad we wasted your time with all of this. And we will see you hopefully next week. Things go well. Bye.
Bye.